Okay, welcome everyone to Lunch with EFI. We're 3 minutes into your lunch break, but we're glad that you're joining us. Today we've got not a skeleton crew, but less than normal because Matt Ladner and Jason Bedrick are on a plane. They are traveling. Otherwise, they would be here with us. And so, Jay, Ian, welcome.
Great to be having lunch again.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We've got some fun.
And a shout out to our hundreds of viewers.
That's right.
The hundreds and thousands of viewers.
Many dozens.
Yeah, people misunderstand. We're not doing this for clicks, just to be clear. Some people have alleged that we're doing this for clicks. We are not. We're doing this for ha-has. And let it be clear. But doing it for ha-has gives us license to say things that are true, because we like saying things that are true, and that's fantastic. It is the logic of the old blog that used to have my name that a bunch of us used to write for. We didn't care whether people read it. We were just talking to each other, and basically we're doing the same thing here. Yeah. But oddly enough, when you say true things to each other, sometimes people listen, and sometimes it matters. Now, that's not our intent. We don't really care, but sometimes that happens, and then it produces a big reaction. So this is a reference to some email that Tommy Schultz sent at American Federation for Children, which used to be the Alliance for something, which used to be CEO America, which used to be something else. Anyway, he thinks that we're somehow have an angle against him and his organization for clicks. No, we're just saying things that are true.
Yeah. But we welcome the idea that our podcast is that influential. It's wonderful.
It's well, it's wonderful in that it produces this strong reaction from him, which is hilarious.
It is in kind of just a funny way too. Right. But
so to our AFC friends who are tuning in now to monitor what we say, we think it's hilarious that you're monitoring what we say. we find your viewership of this to be highly entertaining and worth our doing it alone. If you were our only audience, we would do it.
We would still do it.
And we just want you to know that. We're just communicating to you directly, since you may be the only viewers, that we're doing it for you.
Yeah, all of our many dozens of viewers are all employees of
AFC to monitor whether we make trouble for them.
Yeah,
but, they make trouble for themselves. We just say the truth about it. That's all.
Hey, and don't take that as an invitation to leave. You're welcome to stay and listen to everything
we have a lot of other actually, the truth is our menu for today does not involve AFC. So you AFC monitors, you could log off if you like. Although we might get in some other lines by you later. So
there will be some side comments here and there potentially. Yeah. But
anyway, we should get to our meal.
Yes. So we're gonna start off with my topic. I wrote an op-ed that was published yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. It might have been the night before, but it's about an activist reporter in Arizona.
Is that redundant, activist reporter nowadays?
It really is, and that's why I no longer call journalists journalists. I call them activists LARPing as journalists. That's what I call them.
Well, although, to be fair, there are real journalists still out there. I feel bad for them.
They are rare.
I just feel bad that their profession is taken over by other people, but there are real journalists out there. It's just tough for them.
Every once in a while, you can find them. They're like they're endangered species that haven't been cited in many years.
Like the bonobo.
The bonobo. The ivory-billed woodpecker. If you're from Arkansas,
which was totally seen in Arkansas.
Yes,
I saw it. I just didn't. I didn't have my camera with me.
Hey, I'm friends with the guy that cited it.
Really?
In the 2004 or something, 2005. Great family. Anyway, Yes. So there's a reporter here in Arizona that has made it his personal mission to attack school choice, not just recently, but for many, many years. And this is not news to anyone who's been around school choice for any amount of time at all, that you can find these same types of people working for news outlets in Florida, for instance. You can find them all around the country. These folks exist everywhere. And
but he works for someone. Who does he work for?
so he works for, ostensibly anyway, 12 News. Prior to that, he worked for the Arizona Republic, and with a little stint with USA Today, a short stint after Arizona Republic, he was with USA Today, whom he managed to get sued, by the way.
When he was with the Republic.
I believe that he was with the Republic. No, he was. Both the Republic and USA Today, of course, they share the same parent company, Gannett. And Gannett is who is being sued. Still, it's an ongoing lawsuit. With
and 12 News is not owned by Gannett?
I don't know. It's owned by I forget. It starts with a T, Tegan or something like that.
Okay.
So
how often does he file a story for them? Is he
at all, or
at all? Like is he on there, every day, every week?
Oh, I would say 3 to 4 times a week. He's got a story out. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's been on the education beat for a long time. His stint with USA Today was not that. It was in San Diego on the business beat. But back here now with 12 News in Phoenix, he is back on education and politics. And so the big news last week was not a story that he filed. The big news was actually that he was coordinating his story and with not just his story, his reporting with this group that you can see here pictured in this photo. SOS Arizona, Save Our Schools is the name of the organization. And he has, if you can see, there's an iPad screen there. And if you were to zoom in on that in the photo, you would see that it's him in this private chat talking to these members of this activist organization.
Right now, he says, "Oh, you caught me talking to sources. That's what reporters do."
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So what's he doing with them that seems inappropriate?
So if it were just talking and then he was asking them about their experience with this or that policy or what their view was on this or that bill that was before the legislature, then sure, he's talking to a source. He's not doing that. He's telling them that they need more people. This screenshot here, actually, if I remember right, is directing members of this organization, SOS, to leave the House chambers, which is where they are in the gallery here in this photo, to go over to the Senate side because they need more red shirts visible to the legislature down on the floor. Well, that's
helping coordinate their activism.
Correct. That's the problem. And that's a problem. That's the big problem.
That's the latest problem. There have been other problems.
There are other problems.
Yeah.
What's funny, and I honestly laughed at this. And maybe I should.
The prime directive of EFI is to have a good chuckle with your lunch.
So here we go. This was kind of funny to me. I'm called out by name in this same text thread.
I noticed that. You're important.
Honestly, I walked in, no one looked at me. Because I'm sitting, when this photo was taken, I'm sitting about 2 rows behind this and all the way to the right, clear over by the door. So I walked in and took the first seat. These folks are seated further over to the left. I didn't notice anyone looking at me. I didn't notice anyone, I mean, there's probably 55, 60 people in the gallery, and about a dozen or so are in red shirts, SOS shirts, something like that. And no one's looking, no one's paying attention. But someone noticed me because I made it into this text thread here. And what's funny is that they mention my name and that I'm with Educational Freedom Institute, EFI. And Craig Harris says, I wonder if he does porn, if he like stars in porn. And he's talking about me. And so
here's a reference to Corey.
It is. It's a tangential reference to Corey.
Right.
So, but still,
which is also, honestly, like, be decent.
Right.
People when they're young do foolish things, and that doesn't shape their whole lives. If we were judged by the worst thing that we all did when we were young, we'd all be in trouble. So
100%.
It's not nice. It's not nice.
It's really, yes. And beyond that, it's childish and all of that. But anyway, I did chuckle to myself when I saw that that's what he was saying about me, because I thought
saying you're very handsome.
Well, so that was a thought. But another thought was, I really did. And I laughed to myself about this. I thought, no one's going to pay for that. I thought, no one's interested in this.
I don't know. Don't sell yourself short.
It was funny. I got a good laugh out of it,
yeah.
Even though, at the same time, two things can be true.
But it doesn't sound like the tone of a reporter collecting information from a source. It sounds like gossiping about one's adversaries in order to mock them, as we sometimes enjoy doing here. But it's we should recognize this as a vice and not a virtue.
And we're not reporters. I mean,
that's right.
Right.
That's right. There's a difference.
That's right. Right. We don't have a responsibility, no kind of journalistic.
Our only responsibility is to the prime directive of EFI Lunch to have a good chuckle while having the conversation once a week.
That's right. So anyway, I thought it was funny as far as that goes, but that's an aside. The real story here is that not only when he was called out on this, did he double down, but it took him a couple of days for someone apparently to get to him, to what I believe. I don't have any evidence of this. I don't know this, but it sure looks like
an inference you are drawing from the information you have.
It sure looks like to me someone told him, you need to delete some of the things that you've posted on X, where he went after specific people saying, no, it's fine. I'm just coordinating with source. I'm not coordinating. Sorry. I'm just talking to a source. I'm just communicating. Those are all deleted now. They're gone.
So those seem like innocent. Those are at least attempts to justify an activity. Is that what I thought he scrubbed inappropriate text from the past or messages from the past. No,
I don't know. That could be, but this specifically, the way that he framed the posts that are now gone could easily be construed as him admitting to the fact that he in fact was coordinating with them.
Oh, then he's the one involved in the exchange, for example.
Yes, he acknowledges that. He's, trying to justify it. Those are gone. Those are now gone. So anyway, he's an activist, LARPing as a journalist. There are many more like him around the country.
He probably has dozens of followers like we do. Dozens.
He might even have 4 dozen. It's possible. So anyway, that's it was a fun little exchange, a little bit of humor in there added, but the real issue here, which is a serious one, and that it is that you have to be careful what you consume. You have to be careful. You need to, this goes back to our, one of my favorite Michael Crichton creations. I mentioned this a few weeks back on Lunch with EFI, which is the Gell-Mann amnesia effect. We tend to distrust things that we know about, that people have written, because we know about them. And we'll say, yeah, well, you got this wrong and you got that wrong. And then automatically accept things that we don't know about, know as much about, like,
right. This is the Bill Gates is his foundation's lousy on education reform, but they must be doing great things to fight malaria in Africa.
Right. Right.
That's just, it's because it's far away and I just don't know about it. So I'll just assume that must be good.
Well, at least he's doing good things over there.
Right. Maybe not. Right. But as is a common theme in our lunch, there's some balance here between healthy skepticism and nihilism. So, we do have to consume information. We do have to, make reasonable judgments about how to move forward in the world. But we have to do so with a healthy dose of skepticism.
That's right.
Well, and I mean, just to sort of disentangle it, I think the reality is that a lot of that nihilism is fed by the failure of elites.
Right.
And so, in thinking on journalism, I mean, they have failed.
Right. Well, or elites makes it sound more. I mean, what we have we have a civil society that's built around institutions, and those institutions help create and enforce norms for decent behavior. And that's how you have a healthy civilization, is that you have these institutions and these norms. And our institutions have fallen down on the job, and the norms are being violated, and we have to figure out some way back. We have to figure out some way of rebuilding those institutions or creating new ones that can help perform the necessary function of articulating and enforcing norms for decent behavior in society.
That's right. And, frankly, we don't have control over what direction that reconstruction might go in. And even, in thinking on journalism, we can sort of see the divergent paths, right? So on the one hand, we have the free press, which is born, I would say, out of this disillusion. And, in my mind, they do a remarkably good job overall. But then we also have, the manosphere,
Right.
which is a nihilistic disaster. And
Podcast-istan.
Right. Podcast-istan. And so, that rebuilding is not guaranteed to succeed. But
well, I mean, it's easier to destroy than build, and so sure. the new forces that are engaged in destruction have a certain edge.
That's right.
It takes some extraordinary founder and founding act to help establish a new set of institutions.
That's right.
Which is one of the remarkable thing about our country now that we reflect on our 250th anniversary is how rare and wonderful it is to have a society built on a set of remarkably healthy institutions. Tocqueville helped describe, how they were generated and sustained in the early years. And they're not perfect. They make tons of mistakes and they do terrible things too. But it's better to have those institutions than not have them at all.
That's right.
And we can reform institutions and improve them gradually over time. But if we destroy all these things, or they destroy themselves, we're in trouble.
Well, and that's the hard part, is to a large extent, a lot of them are destroying themselves.
They are, but all of this is to say, when it comes to the press, we will highlight and mock your failures, but it's not because we want you to continue to fail. It's actually because we want better. It's important that you do better.
The same thing we were talking about when I was talking about researchers. To the extent that we think of ourselves as researchers, it's our own enterprise that has also been guilty of this, where people seize the opportunity to advocate for things that they believe in violation of norms of research, because they just believe it so hard, and they see the attraction of that power is too great. And often it's not conscious. Like they can do it they can blind themselves. Self-deception is even more powerful than deception of others.
Well, and the more that media declines in particular, the more opportunity there is for us to grow our Lunch with EFI empire.
Oh, right. Who knows? It might be several dozen.
Right.
But I do have hope, and I said this before, that America's a basically decent place. Like, it's filled with remarkably good people.
For sure.
Working hard, doing decent things, trying to raise families, trying to make a living. And there are tons of them. They're just not noisy, but there are tons of them out there.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to get out in the country and
touch grass.
Yeah. I mean, one of the benefits of not living on the coast, I think, is how I don't live in that world.
You get to see you get to interact with decent people.
Yeah.
No
offense. They have their own
Ian.
problems and they have their own shortcomings, but it's so refreshing not to talk about politics with people all the time. It's refreshing to not talk about culture war issues with people all the time. Not that we shouldn't talk about politics and culture war. They're important. We need to talk about them. But when you talk about other things with people out in the middle of the country, you realize that there's a lot of good stuff going on out there.
For sure.
I do have the harbor is right behind me here, and it's beautiful. So, as Sol would remind us, it's all about trade-offs. You just
there you go.
Yeah.
It is beautiful up there in that neck of the woods. Okay, we should jump on to our main dish here. I apologize for taking the first 2/3 of Lunch with EFI.
It'll be a long lunch.
It
will be a 3 martini lunch.
There you go.
It was a robust appetizer. It was like a French onion soup. We can make it a light lunch, I think. A light main dish. So EdChoice runs a fantastic polling operation, and they release regular polls of a representative sample of Americans on educational issues. And there were just a couple things from their latest poll that caught my eye. And I think the first one, and actually this is something that if our AFC friends are still tuning in, something that they should be paying attention to, was there was a question to parents of children who had switched schools, asking them their motivations for switching schools, which is something that most parents don't really envision doing. It's disruptive and it's upsetting for the kid who has friends in their old school. Like, most of us really don't want to do that. And so in asking what their main motivation was for switching, the most commonly cited answer is actually bullying. And the reason I think this is important is because as we think about how we regulate school choice programs, there are those who say that we need to keep the focus on academic outcomes. But this points to a mismatch between how bureaucrats or technocrats are thinking about school choice and how common people are actually thinking about school choice. And so, they're not, the thing that they have at the top of mind is not necessarily optimizing academic achievement. It's that, their child is facing some difficult circumstances, bullying or emotional challenges or these things like that. And they are desperate to get their child into a new, hopefully safer environment. And I look at that and I think, great, I'm a parent. I'm completely sympathetic to that. And I think we should be sympathetic to that as well.
And it's not that parents are against achievement and knowledge. It's just there's some like Maslow hierarchy of needs here. Like, the thing that you get really anxious about that will motivate you to make a change is a safety concern.
That's right. I mean, if the kid's getting bullied and, beaten up, then, there's a good chance, frankly, like, life's not going to turn out great for them. And so if they get into an environment where, they feel safe and supported, even if there is, even if we observe some short run negative effect on test scores, I think it's reasonable to assume or imagine that in the long run, that's beneficial. And this is exactly why probably we see this disconnect in evaluations of voucher programs.
And even more importantly, even if it doesn't optimize test scores, people are allowed to do it. People are allowed to do people are allowed to prioritize their values as they prefer.
Yeah.
You know, we sit around and we just think that the lens that matters is GDP growth. And you're only allowed to make choices that optimize GDP growth. Mm-hmm. And we dismiss, regulate, mock any other priority. Then the problem is ours, not theirs. I mean, people are allowed to trade off wealth for other concerns, and people are allowed to make their own trade-offs with regard to schools. And so whatever they prioritize is actually the whole purpose of schooling, which is to help prepare young people for adult life in the ways that their families envision for them. Right? It's part of child rearing. Unless you want to take away kids and raise them collectively in optimal orphanages with optimal knowledge instruction, then we're going to have some people making choices that you might not like or priorities that aren't your priorities. So that's okay.
Philosophically, I agree with your Chestertonism. Politically, people are going to worry about whether you want to call them neighborhood effects or whatever. If other people think that allowing families to make these decisions means, worse labor market outcomes in the long run, it does become a political issue. That's the reality of it. So I think it's important that people understand.
As it turns out, freedom and productivity tend to go together over the long run. And so
that's right.
We probably don't have to fret about it, but we also don't have to engage in faux scientific research to prove it over and over and over again.
Well,
one of the faith that's going to work out okay.
A really good example of this is like career and technical education, right? To your point, Ian, because it does become political. And here's how. It specifically for CTE courses and courses of study. There is a list, Jay, you and I have talked about this in the past. There's a list that's created by a government appointed committee of occupations that can be funded through tax dollars for K-12 students, and not really K-12, obviously. Most states, it's like 9-12. So in grades 9 through 12, a government-appointed committee comes up with a list of occupations that dollars can be spent on to get these kids these skills, whether it's auto maintenance and body work or STEM, the STEM fields, the medical fields. And
they're terrible at central planning. So this is where you get everyone needs to learn to code just before AI eliminates
all need for coding.
The need for so many new coders. And
I graduated high school in 2009, and I can remember a discussion that actually our superintendent gave at our high school about the jobs of the future. And if you had taken his advice, there's a good chance that your job either would have been replaced by AI by now or about to be replaced. So yes, these central planning exercises are pretty dangerous.
It's an ever-changing, uncertain world. We have to adapt. And now, since schooling is about preparation for the future, it's always trying to predict the future, but it's not very good at it.
Yeah.
So I have real quick on that. One of these confirms my bias and one does not.
So that one must be wrong.
So obviously I take issue with the one that does not confirm my bias.
So
the ESAs garner support from a diverse crowd. That does not confirm my bias. And it also doesn't confirm the data in a lot of different ways. But the one that does confirm my bias is school parent support for AI in the classroom. We're just talking about AI has increased. I've said now for the better part of a couple of years that I believe that schools will implement AI at scale and that it will be done very poorly. That is my prediction. And parents seem to support it. So we'll see how that goes.
So what, but you, Ian, you have your own doubts about some of these polling results, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think polls are, they're fun and interesting as a temperature check and sometimes can render meaningful insights. I think they probably tell us more when it's about someone's actual experiences rather than about their sort of their broader political sensibilities. And so, there is a question in here about whether parents are broadly supportive of ESAs. And what they report is that the number of self-identified or the proportion of self-identified progressives who claim that they like ESAs is essentially identical to the number of self.
Right. So this is where you get high sensitivity to question wording, right? Do you like delicious ice cream? Let me describe. Do you like ESAs? ESAs are like delicious ice cream. Do you like them?
Right. And so, I mean, we shouldn't take this to mean that actually 3 and 4 progressives are going to end up politically supporting.
So you mean when Tommy sent out his oddly defensive letter, Tommy Schultz of AFC, whose people are watching, if they send out their letter remarkably defensive and very upset because polling shows that they're right, maybe polling isn't the way that you figure out what to do in politics. Maybe it requires, I don't know, wisdom, experience, that oddly the handful of totally unimportant people involved in this lunch podcast have like collectively more experience than perhaps the entire AFC staff combined. Maybe there's something, maybe we've been around the block a few times with school choice and have seen a few things, and maybe we know something that your polling doesn't know because you just asked them whether they like ice cream.
Well said.
Delicious ice cream, yeah.
Or whether they hate, booger tasting ice cream or something. No one likes booger ice cream.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. So polling is useful, but not if you make your policy strategy. If you're a think tank and you develop your mission and your strategy from polling, you're a weak leader.
It's an enormous mistake. Not only a weak leader, but an incompetent leader.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, polling should help you make sure that you're not making a mistake, that you're, it could lead you to change your mind about things, but it can't drive what you're doing because polling isn't that good.
Mm-hmm.
Just isn't.
Well, like you said, Ian, it's a temperature check, and temperature checks are good as far as they go, but they are not policy prescriptions.
So school choice advocacy organizations should not develop their political strategy from polling, is what we're saying? Is that what we're saying? Are we saying that doing that would be unwise and donors who give millions and millions of dollars to such organizations would be making a terrible mistake?
It is reasonable. It's a data point, but it's a data point among many. And actually, I would argue that the much more instructive data points are the history that we have of trying to pass and maintain school choice legislation. That to me seems a little bit more important.
Well, this is, James Paul and I wrote a fairly inflammatory piece, which helped, I think, catalyze the new wave of school choice victories, where we pointed out how the red state strategy, trying to appeal to Dem legislators, was a bad strategy for winning. And in fact, we did an analysis of past votes that showed that you actually almost never would have passed a school choice bill if you had focused on Dems. That you could pass. You got a majority of votes with Republicans alone, and so you could pass a lot of programs with Republicans alone. Now, eventually, you have to get to the Dem states, but our argument for how you get there eventually is through T-Boo choice and competition, which is eventually you get enough red states on board that the blue states are competing with them and they're losing population and investment base to other states, and they have to reform to keep their people and their money. That's how America works, actually, is through T-Boo choice. And polling won't tell you that, but political wisdom will.
And the data bears that out beautifully. I totally, Jay, I totally agree with you. I remember you talking about this years ago. we had an event here in Phoenix, if you remember, and you, as an aside, it was a comment on a top, and James was here actually too. I don't think your paper had come out yet. I think you guys maybe were working on it.
Yeah.
And you started talking about the red state strategy. I remember we had a couple of legislators in the room that were like Republicans, by the way.
Yeah.
And longtime friends
Right.
that were like shaking their heads like, no. And I thought, I don't know. Anyway.
From 0 states with universal school choice to nearly 40% of the country. It's remarkable in span of 5 years.
It's incredible.
Right. And the way we're going to protect and sustain those programs is not through polling for what regulations we should impose on these things. It's actually to build scale. Because the thing that will protect it the most, I mean, one of the things that struck me the most about that letter, by the way, that we're all referencing that no one here has seen, but is that it kept referring to how there are 100,000 families or kids in choice programs in Arizona. And you know what's really going to protect school choice in Arizona?
The 100,000 families.
Right. They vote, they organize, they donate. You get to scale, and you get to scale among the middle and upper class, and they have a lot of political power. And you know what's not going to matter? Some paid lobbyist person from a school choice advocacy group.
I've been saying this for many months now, that 102,000 kids, which is the latest data, it's grown, I'm sure, but that's the latest data that we have for Arizona's kids on ESAs.
Right.
That number represents about 1 in 8 school-age children in this state.
Right. And if you want to have it more protected against scandal and other problems, double that number.
Double the number.
Like, grow as fast as you can. Don't regulate so you slow your growth or shrink and make people unhappy with the program. Grow faster.
That's
what you want to do.
To your point, it's not, and to your point, and I've been saying this too, it's not just the 100,000 kids and their parents. It's also the aunt and uncle of the kid that's on an ESA. And it's also, my good friend who I don't have a kid on an ESA.
I hear it's good. Exactly. Right. This is how political movements actually work, based on people with experience in political movements. And what doesn't matter very much when political movements reach a certain level of maturity is the advocacy organization. So, for example, if you think that AARP protects Social Security, you don't understand anything about politics, right? AARP is now just an organization that offers discounts on insurance and travel. Okay?
That's right.
The thing that protects Social Security is that there are millions of beneficiaries, including very influential, well-organized rich people. Okay,
that's right.
That's what protects Social Security. And you want school choice to be like Social Security. You want it to protect itself by having a large number of well-connected beneficiaries.
Grow it as quickly as possible.
And the AARP of school choice will turn itself into an insurance and travel discount organization. God willing. So hysterical letters to donors that, unless we impose new regulations, that 100,000 kids will lose their opportunities, is just showing no knowledge of how politics works.
Well, and look, not to belabor this, but also we should be drawing some lessons from the charter school movement here as well. Look at Arizona, where the approach was basically let her rip, and now we have close to 1 in 5 Arizona students in charter schools, which by
over 1 in 5, yeah.
Or you could do the high regulation approach and only have 2.
Right.
It
could be easily shut down. Barely anyone would notice the difference, and that's exactly what's playing out again here.
Right. Well, I think we've gone so long. I don't even think we need dessert today.
Really?
I think this was so filling. The French onion soup, and then the beef Wellington as the main course. Man,
Wellington, yeah. It was good. It was a good conversation. I'm glad that you guys were able to jump in.
We had all this conversation even without Matt and Jason here. They're the ones who really know stuff. We're LARPing. We're just LARPing here.
We're just LARPing. That's great. Well, we can talk about forever students then, which was our dessert. We can talk about that next week or soon.
It's
soon.
forever young, the topic.
There you go. Okay. Well, this has been fun. And so thank you both for jumping on. Thank you to our many dozens of viewers. We appreciate you. And
actually, no. In truth, we don't really think about you at all.
That is kind of true, actually. We're just here for a good time. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, enjoy your evening, your afternoon, and your week, and we'll catch you next week.
Yep.
Take care.